It's always this feeling deep down of why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why isn't anyone stepping in to make this all right again for me? Instead of, what do I do? I wanted to talk today about being your own anchor. All of us, we surround ourselves with great people as best we can, right? Friends, family. But at the end of the day, you really do have to be your own anchor. And it's something that recently I've spent a lot of time looking back on, especially this past decade and this past year and a half. Looking back on this past decade, this past year and a half, I've had a lot of time to do that. And what I found is a lot of the time, especially growing up in my middle to late 20s, I really did rely on others to fix, like I expected someone to fix things for me. So like when I first started experiencing symptoms of panic disorder when I was 21 is a good example. I was like so scared and so fragile in that moment that I wanted somebody else to come and make it all okay and fix it for me. And then like when the company I worked at as my first career, my first real job after college, like when it started to fall apart, I wanted somebody to fix it. I wanted somebody to come and put it back together and make it all better. And like when my marriage started to fall apart, it was like the same exact kind of thing. It's always this feeling deep down of why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why isn't anyone stepping in to make this all right again for me? Instead of, what do I do to fix this or move forward or heal and get stronger or make it better? And there are levels to this shit, obviously. Like, I don't mean that I never at any point made an effort to fix or heal or put energy or effort into any of these things, because I certainly did, especially in regard to my marriage, especially in regard to the company I worked at. But the underlying feeling was still the same, which is like a woe is me type of, I felt sorry for myself and I wanted somebody else that had more strength and like more experience to help put the shit back together. It was just like I never found this inner strength, this concept of being my own rock, my own anchor. And really last year, 2020, was the first time in a very, very long time that you could argue since, I don't even like high school, that I was forced to be alone and reckon with myself and stripped away all the other things from life that I could blame, really. Everybody else that was around me that I could have pointed the finger at or said, this person did this to me, or this person did this to me, or this person should have done this or that. They were all gone. Everybody was gone. It was just me. There was nowhere else to point the finger except at the man in the mirror. And for the first time, inevitably and eventually, I became my own anchor and realized that I am my own rock. And even with, this is the very important takeaway here, even with love in my life, family, girlfriend, fans, coworkers, at the end of the day, I know that I have to be my own rock. If I won't be here for myself, nobody else can be here for me. It's a hard lesson, but it's an imperative one, and one that I have to remind myself of constantly, especially as life, kind of the older you get, the more complicated and emotional and hectic and stressful it can become. And it's like, if I've recently, the thing that kind of spawned this is I found myself in this position like, fuck. Like I've had a lot of changes going on in my personal life, let me put it that way, that have made it more difficult to sort of manage my schedule. Just a big transition period for me, and one that when any transition period comes with mental health issues as well, typically in my case. And as a result, I struggle, and I found myself again in this place where I was kind of like, God damn it, somebody fucking fix this for me. And it's like, that's not how anything works. It's the Facebook wall post commercial all over again. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You might get lucky a time or two, especially when you're young. But the older you get and the more it just becomes your show, your life, it's just you, end of the day. So if you don't have your shit together first, nobody can put your shit together for you, which was like, I'll tell you this, after working for months and months and months and months on the hardest project I've ever worked on, which was putting my life back together after 2019 and into 2020 and the pandemic. After I earned the energy, I found this piece that we all want, right? The thing that we all want is other people to help us and give us strength and support us. And if you earn that, it's even more meaningful and powerful when you get there. You may get lucky a time or two in life where somebody falls into place for you and can like prop you up or hand you something or give you grace. But like end of the day, if you don't have your baseline, your foundation set for yourself, that will inevitably fall through too. You have to have your shit set right for life and the universe or God or whatever you believe in to be able to give you the gifts that you need. We spoke recently during our Monday mental health message, I believe it was last week, about asking for what you need. That is important. But again, I would argue nobody can give you what you need if you haven't set yourself up in the best way possible already to be able to receive what you need, kind of. Chris, your takes.
Yeah. Well, for me, this is something that I know, and I've talked about it before. You know, you're the only person that you go to sleep with every night. You're the only person you wake up with every morning. Like, you got to be there for yourself first and foremost. But it's something that I struggle with all the time. Like, it's easier to say, harder for me to do, especially as somebody that's younger. So I just wanted to ask you, like, how does asking for help play a role in that? And like being your own anchor, but still being able to, like, when you need help, reaching out.
I think it's a matter of like, here's the thing that can be frustrating as a guy who gets asked for help very often,
of course,
by choice, by career choice. If I can tell somebody is actively trying hard to fix their shit,
yeah,
I am much more likely to give them advice and much more capable of giving them good advice.
Absolutely.
If somebody is just like, hey man, my life is fucked, here's the list of the fucked things, what am I supposed to do? If you tell me what you're doing to actively fight, I can help guide that a little bit and give some direction. But if it's like, I'm just fucked, help, I got nothing for you. Like, that is not really, before, like, even in your most dire straits, you have to have some level of your shit together to even ask for help, right?
Sure.
I would argue that the problem a lot of the time is if you don't have your foundation set straight, you won't ask for help because you aren't in the place that you're healthy enough to do so. And instead, you just kind of, in my experience personally anyway, if I haven't had my life set up in a way where I felt I had earned the right to ask for help, I don't.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's like, I always, like right now, for instance, as a result of my experience last year and sort of being forced to become my own anchor, I feel very comfortable asking the people closest to me for help right now. If I wake up and I know I'm having a tough mental health day, like, there are two people that are going to know immediately about that, at least two people that are going to be able to then, like, respond to me in a way that we've talked about how exactly, like, what I need to hear. And for instance, in one of my, like, with my girlfriend, whenever I wake up in the morning, she'll ask me, like, well, how are you feeling for transportation today? Because I just got the new car. I'm still working my way back into it. This has been a big transition period. And if I say, I feel like fuck, she's like, okay, well, this is how, we're going to figure out what that means for today. Then you'll Uber here. I can pick you up from here and you'll get a ride here. And I'm like, good. And then the rest of my day is set. But the only reason we're able to have that conversation in the mornings is because we had several preceding it where I was very open, very transparent, and honest with what I'm going through and my feelings, and put myself in a position where she could actually help. You understand? Like, if she didn't get it, then she wouldn't really be able to help. But because I've opened myself up to her, she has the ability to help me. So it's like, you have to have something there in substance,
and the only way
for people to be able to help you.
And the only way that she can get it is because you fully understand the foundation that you built for yourself, correct? Like, the only way, because
the only way I can ask her for help even properly is because I have an understanding of myself and a foundation that I've set for me, and I am my own anchor and have my own strength that I can then ask. Like, if without that understanding,
yeah, because you fully understand that.
Yeah, it's too.
Got you.
It's too broad. It's like, there's just, what I mean is there's work you have to do yourself before
Absolutely.
Anybody else can help you. That's kind of the end of the day lesson, I guess. And then later down the line, it turns into this anchor situation where you really can develop this inner strength. And, this is where we can get as wacky as you want to and hippy-dippy as you want to. But, like, I told y'all when I went and saw that energy healer, for example, that dude I went and saw a few months back, when I was sort of going through the end process of healing and recovering and putting my life back together. And the guy told me that I had a Thor outside of my body. And I was like, sure, crazy man, a Thor with a hammer. That sounds great. Outside of my body. Interesting. Okay, here's $100. I'll see you never. And then, like, 3 weeks later, it clicked what that meant. And I was like, fuck. The dude was exactly right. And it's generic. You know, it's kind of like when if you called Miss Cleo and she's like, something good will happen to you today. That's not a Jamaican accent, but I'm glad I didn't go for it because that's probably appropriation on some level. Whoever I did appropriate just now, I do not apologize.
Didn't Adele do that one time and get like full braids or something?
Yeah, it's
wear,
Tom
like,
Hanks' son, Chet. But
True.
it like what was I saying?
You're talking about the energy healer, the
Oh
Thor
yeah,
outside your body?
the man's point was all of us inherently have this strength internally. What I'll call the anchor, your anchor. And if you go through something traumatic or unfortunate or heartbreaking or painful or whatever, you can sort of lose yourself. Your inner strength, your self-esteem, that thing that makes you can sort of dissipate. Or in this case, like, it's still there, but it was outside of my body, sort of. It's a symbolic thing. Like, all this, really, religion, spirituality, the energy shit, all this hippy-dippy stuff, like, it's all in the same realm, that spirituality realm. And whether or not you believe it on this front or there's another way you tell yourself this thing, like, religiously, you could look at it as, like, you need, like, the power of God back in you or something like that. But in this case, just from an energy standpoint, it was like I had lost my inner strength. It was removed from me, and I was going to have to earn it back, work for it, get it back, attain Thor again.
Yeah.
And I feel like over the past month, I've really just now started to get there. And so that dude had told me even, he said, you'll know when it's time for your next appointment. He wasn't like, let's make another one right now. I want more money. I was like, this is weird. Most of the time, you in a psychiatrist appointment, bro, the fucking first thing going down is they're making your next appointment before you get off that phone or Zoom meeting or out of that office because they want to make sure they get that next check.
Sometimes they'll do it at the beginning. Like, all right, you want to go ahead and just like knock out your next appointment?
Let's just go ahead and get your next 17 appointments on the books
just,
right now.
Yeah, get them set up.
You want to go ahead and prepay? That'll be $4,600.
We'll
you want to go ahead and prepay?
50%. We'll give you a 50% discount on the first deposit if you give us your second deposit right now. Just think it over and let's get talking.
So this dude being like, you don't even need another appointment. You'll know when it's time. And then literally in the past few weeks, me being like, oh my God, I figured it out. It is time. Now I need to go back and learn what the next step is.
Well, I mean,
you got to allow yourself that. Anyway, that's what I mean by like the sort of anchor inner strength thing. And when you've got that back, or when you attain it or had it, never lost it, I don't know. It's not something I had lost before this most recent experience ever. Man, it's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think humans innately have this like inner, and again, this is where some people might see this as more like woo-woo, spiritual, whatever. This is my personal beliefs. I do believe that humans have this internal intuition and drive and strength that society kind of slowly grinds out of us, that we kind of lose touch with, this like inner connection. And like in Christianity, it's viewed as, you have the Holy Ghost inside of you. For me, I think it's like you have a bit of the divine inside of you, and it's our job to connect it with whatever is out there in nature, the upper universe, the energy of the universe, whatever you want to call it, the divine. We all kind of derive our beliefs from this idea of connecting ourselves to the world around us. And I think step one to that, like you're saying, is you have to look inward and you have to figure out what your foundation is before you can offer your full strengths to the world around, basically.
Yeah, I agree. It's just sort of this weird feeling it out situation in life
difficult.
where,
and it's a lot of, for me, it's just a lot of questioning. It's a lot of why do I believe what I believe? Like, am I like to... It's just questioning, well, especially at being 21, being on my own really for the first time. It's a lot of discovering, do I believe this because I was taught to believe this, or do I truly believe in this? You know what I mean?
I'm doing that, man.
Yeah.
Like at 33, I've been, like last year was a lot of that. It's like...
so is the foundation consistently kind of being remodeled and rebuilt and stuff like that?
No,
or do you have to stick to a core?
Especially at this time in your life, like when you're really young, is the hardest point, because it's like coming out of childhood into adulthood, and then really that looking very different for each individual human being. Like in my case, I've spoken to it many times. I really don't feel like I became an adult until I was like 30 years old. Like I quit drinking, and that was the first time I had like a full responsibility and understanding and was present enough in my own adult life to really be an adult. And like historically, it's so weird looking back on my life and what I thought adulthood would be and when I would attain it. And like, there's religiously people who become an adult at 14 and shit like that.
Sure,
and it's like,
sure.
18, you can go fight in a war and vote. And in some states, you can have sex with adults at 17 and shit. It's like, I wasn't an adult until 30 years old. And so it's to answer your questions, yes, it is a constant reshuffling. It is like each stage of life, and they're pretty distinct. And it's harder to see them when you're younger. But the older you get, the more distinct you can look back and see these phases. Like, I was a fucking child. Oh, I was an adolescent. Oh, I was becoming an adult. Oh, I was this. I was that. Each phase of life presents another challenge of anchoring yourself, finding that foundation, sort of rebuilding it. I mean, like I just went through another one where
absolutely
had to rebuild my foundation all over again. And it's like, it is a constant reshuffling, but not. I don't like those two words together because it makes it seem like there's never any steady, and there certainly is. There is big steady, and I think the phases in the big steadies become longer the older you get and the more you've worked at it.
I said remodeled kind of intentionally in the sense that, like, you know, you're leaving. There are always going to be parts of you that are unchanging, that are just you. Like, that's you at your deepest cores. But I think, you know, those values and pillars on the side, at least from what I've seen throughout my life, those things are constantly questioned and changed. And
everybody's,
et cetera.
You know, there's a great line from The Sopranos, one of the episodes we just watched, which we're covering on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, our TV and film show's Patreon page. If you're interested, go listen to OCC wherever you listen to RBP. But Christopher's explaining to Paulie, two of the characters are talking. One of the younger ones is explaining to one of the older ones. He's saying, where's my arc? In storytelling, a guy starts here, something happens to him, he ends up here. He says, I've got no arc, Paulie. Where's my arc? And it's like, and Paulie says, hey, look at me, kid. I've got no arc either. He's like, I was born, I grew up, did some time in the army, a couple more years in the can, and here I am, half a wise guy. And it's like, it's just that it's an ever expanding challenge that life throws at you. Like, finding your storyline, your arc, and you'll think it's this, and it won't be even close to that, and it'll change. And like a decade later, you're looking back at your old arc, and you're just like, what the hell was that? And it's just fucking, like, it's different for everybody, and at different points in life, different people find different arcs. And so it's, you know, that's why the older you get, the older I get, it's the more you know, but the less you know, because the more you find that every individual circumstance is so specific, and people go through some things I went through when I was 18. I know friends that are going through now at 33. Some things that they went through at 18, I'm going through now at 33. Some friends I know that went through specific things at 25 that I'm seeing now. It's like, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's today's Tuesday mental health message. Life is crazy. Yeah. So be your own anchor, because nobody else will do it for you.